I'm so happy to welcome the fan club to Anthony's talk today. It's a pleasure to introduce my husband, Anthony Tusler, who I won't tell you, what he does and doesn't do around the house, but professionally, he ran Sonoma State's Disability Arts Center for 25 years.
No, Disability Resource Center. Sorry.
Disability Resource Center for 25 years, and currently he's a consultant, and he's doing a lot of work now with disability arts and also consulting on cultural competence about disabilities. And his website is aboutdisabilities.com if you want to travel his website and read different blogs and see some of his artwork. Today, Anthony will give a talk, and we're happy to have some real-time captioning going on. And we appreciate a $5 donation for the talk today that will benefit the Arts Center. And I just have to give a little commercial for our fall art classes that are coming up. And I'd like to point out the curator of this beautiful exhibit, Janet Moore, is sitting right here. And I hope you'll have time to look at the exhibit afterwards. It represents 7 Bay Area art studios showing the art of people made by people with disabilities. Anthony?
Thank you.
It's your turn.
I've never done a husband and wife duo thing before. Let me explain before we go on what this microphone's about and what the text over there on the side is. I had a request for real-time captioning, and that's for people who have difficulty in hearing and who would like to have it visually represented. And so I'm using this microphone. I'm Skyping to someone in Arizona who is transcribing what I'm saying onto a website that I'm connecting with that projector over there. So that's how it works. Well, and this is the first time I've done it like this, and it had me nervous, but I think it seems to be working well. So, all righty. As Lindy said, I've been doing disability work since the early 70s when I came home to disability, in the sense that I recognized that I had a political identity as a disabled person. I'd been rejecting my disability identity for decades. But in the early 70s, there was this civil rights movement of people with disabilities, and it made sense to me. And when I embraced that community and those civil rights, all of a sudden I caught on fire, and I ended up having a career, and that's what I've been doing since 1972, 1973. So it's been 40 years. And all along, off and on, I've been working in the area of the arts and disabilities. From a political standpoint, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit, but from that political standpoint I believe that the arts can transform how we see the world and how we see people. And so the arts, to me, is a political tool that we can use as far as a disability perspective about our own identity and about our own civil rights. So this is a quote from Neil Marcus, who's a performance artist as well as a visual artist and poet, and it's disability is not a brave struggle or courage in the face of adversity. Disability is an art. It is an ingenious way to live. It's a quote that's getting used more and more, I've seen, and from my perspective, I think that actually as part of the human condition, we're all ingenious to be in this room today, to be here at 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon with matching socks. I think that's if they are matching, yeah. And particularly people with disabilities, and it's not from that tragic sense of disability as a horrible thing that people have to overcome, but it's that sense of being in the world as a disabled person and being a strong, capable, independent individual in the face of the way we are seen by society, I think it takes ingenuity. And for me, the people who are doing it really well, people like Neil, I think they're showing a great deal of art and ingenuity. So one of the things that I realized when I was talking about the show, and I think it was when I was starting to talk to Jerry Olson, who also helped curate the show, is that I view disability as being one community of many tribes, many tribes, but it's one community. I see people with developmental disabilities, intellectual disabilities, as being my brothers and sisters, as I see people with emotional disabilities being my brothers and sisters, just like people who are deaf, people who are blind. We are all a member of this community, if nothing else, from our shared experience of being out in the world and facing a world that stereotypes us and excludes us. Those are all my brothers and sisters. So when I look at a show like this, I look at this as these are my brothers and sisters' work. And I don't think that is always necessarily how the world sees disability. I think it tends to compartmentalize different disabilities in different ways. So some of the art clans or tribes, all of this is out of the top of my head or out of the bottom of my head or wherever, but it is not something that I have necessarily gone and researched. I don't have footnotes for everything I'm talking about. This is the way I see the world. This is the way I see the disability art world, and I'm sure that it's different than a great many other people, but I think it's important to me, so, I see the disability art clans as being developmental disabilities, and under that is the various centers around the North Bay, generally which are regional center clients, but there's also an aspect of that is a part of the fine arts. And then there's, come on in. When Jerry and I were talking, she's saying, well, those people who don't have developmental disabilities, what do you call them? And I went, I don't know. So, and I still don't know. So it's people who have other disability identification. So underneath that is all those other clans that I was talking about and tribes, people with emotional disabilities, blind, deaf, wheelchair users, all of that other stuff. There are shows for disabled artists, and I'm going to be talking about that at the end. They're specifically designed for their competitions that you have to have a disability if you're going to submit a work to it. And then there's also disability art, which is a subset of that. So this is essentially what I'm going to be talking about